Good evening, everyone. I hope you are well. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Just waiting on a few more people coming through, but that's fine. We can make a start because we're just 1 minute past 7:30. So I don't want to keep you on too much into the night, but it's quite an exciting one. Those of you that are skin geeks like me out there, we are here this evening to talk about the contributions of stress on skin. And obviously, when we're thinking about these things and the elements that it affects, you'll start to also think about how it can also affect systemically as well, and just help us kind of help our clients with these sort of considerations as well, which is really, really important. So a little bit of housekeeping. So we're going to be here for about an hour. So thank you very much for joining me this evening. I hope you have fun and I hope you enjoy it. There is a blog to follow. I've literally just finished it and pinged it over to the guys at Shop Beautiful. So if there's any kind of detail that you miss out on this, the great news is obviously there's the blog to follow, and then these are going to be available on a replay. So it might be something you need to watch 2, 3 or 4 times to actually kind of engage and pick these things up and make sure that we're taking everything in. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me this evening. So if you have any questions, live questions, please pop them into the Q&A section. The chat is also there if you want to tell me who you are, where it is that you're from and what you do. That would be great as well, just so I can see who is here. It's always good to know, and where everybody's from. That's always nice to know. So I hope you're all having a good week. I'm having a much better week this week. Obviously the weather's lifting a little bit. I've noticed that the nights are drawing out a little bit, which is nice. And yeah, it's been a good week. So lots and lots of things that I'm doing. I'm keeping very busy, literally one thing after another, which is good. But also here to help you guys with something like this as well. So even better. So on with this evening, let's have a little look at what we're going to be taking a look at. So as you know, as you can see the logo here, I'm on here on behalf of Shop Beautiful, which is amazing. They have a great array of products, but I'm not here to talk product heavy. I'm not a fan of that. Those of you that know me know I'm not. I'm here to teach you and to show you elements to think about when you're buying and thinking about purchasing products for clients and things like that as well. So hopefully you're not going to feel that it's too brand heavy, because that is something that I feel very strongly about. So the aims and objectives of today is to help identify and recap the anatomy and the function of the skin. As always, those of you who know me know that I always start everything around the anatomy, because you know every day is a school day, and even now we still pick things up that we thought we might have known that we didn't. And we're also going to explore the connection of stress to systemic and skin health as well. So we are going to cover primarily one hormone this evening, which is, I'm not going to tell you because that's the answer to one of the questions, nearly did. But we are going to cover the other two hormones just briefly as well. So we just understand this whole system, what's going on with what we call the endocrine system and how that can affect our skin. With that in mind, how can we help? So we're going to talk about home care and professional considerations that you can have in place. The blog is a little bit more brand aware, because it kind of links you to brands and things that I will be recommending for certain conditions and things relating to stress and skin. So a part of this is obviously behavior, as we're going to come on to as we go through, which is a big element of where stress and things lie. And obviously at the moment, with everything that's going on, it's one of those things that we are all probably suffering more of. So we need to be a little bit more aware of what's going on. You may have clients that are getting in touch with you that are at a wit's end with their skin. We may not have even thought about the fundamental facts of stress and how that may and will be having an impact on them as well. So hopefully you will be able to guide your clients a little bit better according to obviously stress and things like that once we've done it today. So all I'll ask those of you that are attending this evening, I love to have a little look through my Facebook and phone after the event, just to kind of see the sort of buzz that it's created. Not just me, but Shop Beautiful as well. Obviously, just to ignore the Nutricost one off there. You can tag them in if you want to, but I've forgotten to take that off one of the slides. So please do tag in, and if you don't already, like and follow the Shop Beautiful pages. So you'll see all the new webinars that we've got coming up. We've got so many exciting titles and things to share with you later on this evening as well that's coming up. And again, just share what you're doing tonight. Are you watching me with a drink of wine? Have you got the cats on your knee? Whatever it is, I want to know, because I love to know who's here and what it is that we're up to. So do tag us and myself in so I can say hello, and we can keep in touch afterwards as well. That's always good. Okie dokie. So we're going to start a little bit just to kind of explain about me. So who are you? Who's this bird that's talking to me? So my name is Annette Matthews. I'm based in the East Midlands. I am a dental professional, dental hygienist and therapist, but I also have my own skin and aesthetic clinic. Skin became a big love for me before I went on to being a dental nurse and then on to university to become a clinician. I was actually in the beauty industry as well. I absolutely loved it. It was quite a long time ago, and it's not as it's not as forthcoming as it is now. There's so many opportunities that you guys have, and obviously within terms of dentistry and this, I've just kind of created this little bubble, this little business plan that I'm moving forward with in the next 3 to 5 years, hopefully. I actually start a master's next month in skin aging and cosmetic medicine, so I'm very excited to share that with you guys as well. I'm not here by any means because I know everything, and I always like to say that at the beginning. If there is something I don't know the answer to, I'll always try and find out for you. I like to think that you will engage more with me and ask questions, even if you think it's a silly one, because I am approachable. I'm a northern lass, and I am here to help you learn and help your clients at the end of the day. As for all of us, our main priority is, of course, our clients and the safety and well-being of their skin and their health. So if I can help you guys with that from a holistic point of view and thinking about other things such as stress and obviously the systemic values that has, then even better. Then I'm glad that you've joined me this evening. But I'm a massive skin geek. I'm not going to lie. I absolutely love everything skin. It's kind of taken over a little bit. I'm about probably 2.5 days a month now where I'm doing dentistry. The rest of it is skin and aesthetics. So I absolutely live and breathe it. So just a few fun facts. I do try and change these up a little bit and swap it around, but we can't really change the facts that are there. But the skin makes up approximately 12 to 15% of our body weight. The average person has around 20,000 square centimeters of skin and 300 million skin cells. So it's definitely something we want to look after. We shed around 700 grams of skin a year and approximately 60,000 particles in 1 hour. Craziness. By age 70, we'll have lost almost 48 kilos of skin, and each 3 centimeters square has approximately 10 hairs, 15 sebaceous glands, which are going to come into this evening as well, 100 sweat glands, and 100 centimeters of tiny, tiny blood vessels. So they're there to provide all the nutrients to the skin and things like that as well. Okay, perfect. So I want to get you guys engaged a little bit, making sure that you're not just turn me on mute and put it on. So why is stress important when managing skin health? So just throw some answers at me now in the chat. In the chat's probably better than the Q&A. So tell me why you think why is stress important when managing skin health? So let's see where we're at with what you guys know already. So there's no right or wrong answer. Just throw me some answers. Come on, guys, don't be shy. I'll wait here quietly until somebody does. Show me some answers. So why is stress important? Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sophia. Cortisol, bad for skin and body. For breakouts, thank you, Cheryl. Oh, we're all waking up now. Fantastic. So stress equals increased hormones, which has an effect on the skin. So that's exactly what we'll be covering a little bit more this evening as well in some more detail. It's going to affect the skin, cortisol, exactly, yeah, because the skin health is managed by hormones and is affected by so exactly why we are here. So we want to explore that a little bit more in a bit more detail, because it will help us when we come across those clients where we do what we always do and we don't quite get the results that we want. Why does that happen? Well, hopefully this will help you kind of understand sometimes how and why this can happen, and it can affect the potential results that you would normally have with certain products and things. So it's really, really important to make sure we understand the fundamentals of exactly what's going on underneath as well. So that's why stress is important when we're managing skin health. We're not just thinking about what we see in the mirror. We're not just thinking about that. We're thinking about everything. And if there's anything you take away from this evening, then that's what I want you to be doing. You're not a GP, you're not a general, some of you might be, I'm not sure who's logged on, but I'm not saying you're here to diagnose these conditions. You are there to have that background knowledge of it, to help you make those informed decisions for both treatment that you can offer, products that you can recommend, and then also potential referrals and conversations that person might need to have with other practitioners. The blog that I was just writing this evening, I was talking about a situation. I'll probably come on to that a little bit later on, actually. But it shows how important that these things just from the skin that we can pick up. So I'll cover that a little bit later on. I tend to do this. I waffle on one slide and it's ridiculous. So a bit of a cheesy quote, but we like a bit of cheese. Beauty is so much more than skin deep. Our skin reflects our inner health and happiness, because it does. And this will kind of lead on to hopefully the next slide, not this one, but the one after. When we are stressed, obviously, a stress is an everyday thing that we're going to come across. There's nothing that we can do about it, and obviously more so at this point in time as well. What we do with that is actually how much of it's coming to us is the minority. The majority is what we can do with it. So life is 10% what happens to us and to our clients and to you and what's going on right now. But 90% of that is how you react to it. So, who feels better if they just get up out of bed, they have a bit of bounce in the morning and they have such a better day, even though it's Groundhog Day at the moment and everything is the same. It's how we react to it. And that's really, really important to kind of remember and consider when we're thinking about dealing with stress, not being too hard on ourselves as well. Don't kind of don't feel guilty for those days where you might be having an off day, because I see there's loads and loads of people going through mixed emotions right now. Absolutely. this industry is on the floor at the minute, but what we are doing is building all these little things in place when we reopen again, and that's what we need to remember. So 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. That's why you're here this evening, isn't it? So how the skin works, I always start with this one, and hang on, there we go. So the one I want to start with actually is the bottom one. So you can see they're connected to our emotions, and the skin is so aesthetics and communication. We use our skin. If we feel about ourselves and we are happy with our skin and we love our complexion, we have more confidence. We have that profound confidence. We're out there. We wake up in a completely different frame of mind. If we are obviously if we have detrimental skin problems that are going on and we've not managed them and we can't manage them, we've not even attempted to manage them, then that is going to impact on our emotions as well. You will find that this will kind of start to make sense as we go along a little bit as well. But actual down to the functionality of skin, it's there for protection. It helps protect us from moisture coming out and also bacteria getting in. It helps with sensation. It helps with heat regulation. So when we shiver, we're cold. When we are hot, we perspire. We're going to talk about perspiration and a little bit about sleep as well. That's really important. The control of evaporation. So we need to keep this part of the skin nice and juicy. So we need to keep the moisture levels in here nice and raised. Moisture acts to give us that plumping effect of the skin, but it also acts as an antioxidant. So if we have enough moisture and hyaluronic acid underneath the skin, it helps flush out all those toxins that we don't want that can cause detriment to the skin as well. And that said, obviously, if we have an influx of hormones and things going on, if we have the skin functioning in its prime way from what we need it to and how it works, then that's only going to be a good thing as well. It's there to excrete, so anything that shouldn't be in there, it's going to help excrete that out. And it's also there, which is an important one when we're talking about skincare products, it's there for absorption. So there is a layer on the skin that helps prevent things getting in that we don't want in there, but there are certain products that we do want to have in there because it is going to have a positive impact on the skin. So that's when we are looking at products, and again, this is covered a little bit more in the blog, but we are thinking about the absorption rate of those products and how we're getting these molecules underneath the surface. So that's why it's really good to have that background knowledge behind these sort of things as well. Okay. So the mind skin link is what experts call psychodermatology. This is a thing. I've already kind of earmarked it for one of my master's studies that I'm going to be talking about, as well as menopause and hormones. It's the science that explains what external skin conditions such as acne, psoriasis, eczema, and rosacea are often triggered by internal stress. So over the last few webinars, we've looked at intrinsic things that trigger stuff off. Okay, when I say stuff, you know what I'm talking about, hopefully. So something that's happening inside that we don't really have much control about that triggers a change in the skin. So that's your intrinsic factors. Internal stress, so often triggered by internal stress. So these visible conditions often dent our self-confidence. So this is where we're talking about the emotions. And if we're not feeling good about ourselves, we then become into this vicious circle. So imagine we wake up, we don't like what we see in the mirror, we don't like how our skin's looking, we've got breakouts, we've got all these things going on. We then start to overstress about this going on, and then it has that Groundhog Day effect on our skin, and not just our skin, but our systemic health as well. So I've got a young lady at the minute who has a condition that she's going through. She's seen the GP at the moment because she has raised cortisol levels that they're really struggling to get down. She's diabetic, diabetes type 2 as well. And there is obviously links to this alongside the hormonal imbalance that she's having. But we're having a bit of a tough time of actually maintaining and controlling the amount of oil that she's producing. And that obviously is what we're going to be chatting about in terms of hormones as well today. And it's not that we can't do anything for her. She's obviously needs to have that intervention from the health team as well, but there is, we're just having to tackle it a little bit differently with the home care that I can offer. Obviously we can't do appeals right now, but with the home care that I'm offering, we're just tackling it a little bit differently. So that's why it's so important to have these little nuggets in the back of your mind to think about when you're dealing with clients and patients moving forward. So I've said it a few times, so you probably already know this, and I think some of you already said it in the chat before, but what happens when we stress? Can anybody name the main hormone? There are 3 that we're just going to cover in a minute, but the main hormone that we release when we stress that begins to wreak havoc on our skin and systemic health. Let's have a little look. I've seen a few of you have said it already. So it should be firing out now. Yeah, cortisol, perfect, fantastic. We're on the same page. Fantastic. Oh, hello, Amanda. Thank you for introducing yourself. That's lovely. It's great to have you here. Yeah, exactly. So cortisol, and someone else has just said, we've seen it ping up adrenaline. So let's have a little look at these then, shall we? 3 main stress hormones. We've got cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. There is another word for noradrenaline, but I'm not going to try and say it while I have a fixed appliance in my mouth. I'm going through braces myself at the minute. Never going to happen. So I use the older term, which is noradrenaline, but it's still the same thing. So you've got cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. Okay, the one that we're going to focus on is cortisol, but we are just going to cover the other 2 in a little bit of detail because it's important that we know. So adrenaline, what is it? It's commonly known as fight or flight. So if anybody says to you, adrenaline, it's fight or flight. You come off a roller coaster, you're shaking, you might feel hot. That's your adrenaline that's been released. It's produced by our adrenal glands after receiving a message that we've just been thrown upside down, back to front and round, and we've been in quite a stressful situation. It might happen when you're driving a car down the motorway and you see a car and you blind spot right at the last minute and you get that feeling. Okay, I get at the top of a mountain just as I'm about to ski down it, which unfortunately I can't do this year, which is a nightmare. But there's obviously people going through a lot worse things. But that feeling that you get, that fight or flight response, that is your adrenaline that is kicking in. And why is it's kicking in alongside that noradrenaline, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because it's responsible for that immediate reaction that we have when we feel stressed. So it's not something that you tend to see during chronic stress, but it's something that happens imminently and quickly when we're going through a stressful situation. Along with the increase in our heart rate, which we've probably all felt, adrenaline will give you a surge of energy as well. So you'll have that if you need to get away from something, or you need that energy to move away from something, your muscle and your blood nutrients all get pumped around a lot quicker to allow us to do so. So that's what happens with adrenaline during a dangerous situation or something similar. Then we've got noradrenaline. I'm not going to try and say this, but it's noradrenaline. It's the same thing. It's a hormone, much like adrenaline, again, released from the adrenal glands and also from the brain. Its primary role is like adrenaline to stimulate. So it's the 2 that work together. They work in coalition. When you're stressed, you become more awake. I don't know why I've written awake twice, but when you are stressed, you become more awake and alert to that situation to get yourself out of it. So that's the adrenaline, the noradrenaline that's kicking in, or the norepinephrine. And I'm not even trying to say, I can't say it this evening. I'm sorry, guys. Those of you that can, well done, take my hat off to you. It also helps to shift that blood flow away from the areas where it isn't crucial. like the skin. So this is an interesting one. Obviously, if we are producing these low levels amount of noradrenaline, then we're taking the nutrients elsewhere. And if that happens over a long period of time, that's why we start seeing impact on the skin and the systemic health as well. It's going to go to more essential areas like the muscles, so you can actually remove yourself away from the stress as well. Okay. So hopefully that's just highlighted those a little bit for you. Long-term stress factors and a hormone associated with this can and will have detrimental effects on your health. On the blog that it will probably be posted tomorrow now, there is some amazing links to the papers that I actually read to write this. So you're more than welcome to have a little look through those. It's always interesting to read those afterwards as well. But there's always the evidence is growing with this as well. So it's continually growing. So let's explore that level a little bit further. So cortisol is a hormone that can be classified as a steroid hormone or a glucocorticoid. Cortisol is produced in the adrenal glands, the ones right above your kidneys, and it's released into our bloodstream, which means it's transported throughout our body, so it travels all around our body. Here's the important one. Nearly all of our cells in our body have these little receptors that talk to the cortisol and welcome it. This is the dental bit coming out of me. So nearly all of your body cells have receptors that can absorb this cortisol, and they do so accordingly because they recognize it. Okay, so this is where you see detriment on the whole of the body, not just the skin. I'm not going to look at that message. It's popped up. It's probably someone laughing at me saying cortisol. So what we need to think about is all our cells in our body are pretty much primed and ready for this cortisol to actually, come into effect. And that's why when we start to produce too much of it, it can have a major effect on multiple points within our body. Because we are susceptible, we have cells, not just skin cells, but cells generally that will absorb this cortisol. And if we're producing too much of it, then that's going to have a negative impact on our systemic and skin health. Some of the areas that cortisol can and will affect is your blood sugar levels, your metabolism, your water balance, your memory, and your blood pressure, to name a few. And if you have a little look through the papers that I've put at the end of the blog that follows this, you will see there is so much more evidence behind even more things that the cortisol will affect as well. So it's really, really important. Again, we're not there to diagnose our clients, but you can see the importance of potentially picking something like this up, or at least having that conversation with someone. If we're having continual skin problems, is there something more that we're not thinking about? The one that I was thinking about at the beginning of the webinar, it wasn't linked to cortisol, a bit off topic, but she came to me for skin treatments, and she had an overgrowth of hair, so facial hair, lots and lots of facial hair coming through. So I knew there was some form of hormonal imbalance, as I'm probably all of us probably would look and think something's not quite right. And this has happened a few times with a few clients, but I sent her on the way, just said nip and see the GP and obviously see what they say about it, and just explain that you just want maybe some answers as to what's going on. And we found out that she actually had polycystic ovaries. And this is where that whole skin and systemic effect comes in. So if we're more aware of what to look for when it comes to things like that, then we can help signpost our clients for potentially catching these things early. Now, this young girl, she's only like 19 or 20. And obviously, that condition can be fertility debilitating. So it can actually make somebody infertile if it's not addressed in the right way. So that was a win-win. So my point here is, if we're coming across clients that what we would normally do is not quite clicking right, then we have every right to think about other things that we can be thinking about. We're not diagnosing, we're not telling them X, Y, and Z. We're just saying, actually, I've been reading this, or I found this, or I've been looking at this, and maybe you want to have a little chat with this person. That it is just literally a conversation that you need to have that could help them move forward as well. So someone said it already, when we are stressed, we overproduce this cortisol. So we have an overload of cortisol within our bodies. So what impact is that going to have? So these are some symptoms of cortisol overproduction, and we can probably pick out 2 or 3 for ourselves at the minute with everything that's going on. But what we tend to find with symptoms of cortisol overproduction, we see a rapid weight gain. We see this flushed cheeks, and obviously that's to do with that high blood pressure and the amount of blood vessels and nutrients that is firing around in the speed that it is. We have unexplained and easily bruised, and potentially we can see more stretch marks as well. You come onto this and you'll start to click and think, that's why then, because the impact on the collagen, the elastin, and it will all start to go in play. That's why I've put it in here. You may find that there's mood swings as well. They may have an increased thirst, irregular periods, they may feel tired. And what we may find a little bit later on is these brittle bones and this osteoporosis. So this is where the bones become thinner. And we, later on down the line, as it's more progressed, things break a lot more easily as well. But it's something that can be picked up early doors if we navigate it early enough. So this is a condition just to be familiar with, again, just so you know, so it's the back of your mind. Cushing syndrome. It occurs when your body is exposed to high levels of the hormone cortisol for a long period of time. Okay, so it's not just, we're all going through stress at the minute. We're not going to come out of this with syndromes and disorders. Don't think like that, and don't stress about it, because it's just going to make it worse. But this is for a long period of time that we see this hormone cortisol, a rise in the cortisol hormone, that we may start to find that there's something more untoward, something going on like this. It can be potentially caused by oral steroids and medication, and this is what we found in the past. But it also can occur when you're basically making too much cortisol on your own. So if you are stressing quite a lot all the time, or you have a high stressful job, people like that are more at risk of this syndrome as well. So we're not going to scare our clients into this. This is not why I'm showing you this evening. It is to have that awareness of it. So you've got it there, you understand what it is. You might have clients that come in with this, and then you put, they're coming in with this, and they also have really bad acne and they keep having breakouts. Then you should start to be thinking, right, okay, this is going to be a challenge. Not that I'm not going to say no to it, but it's going to be more of a challenge because of X, Y, and Z that's going on. So we're looking at that bigger picture all the time. And that's why, the blog that will follow this as well, and something that I was chatting with Lucy about on Shop Beautiful today, we want to arm you with kind of patient consent forms and things that really get you thinking about all these sort of things. So this is something that we're going to be implementing on the Shop Beautiful website soon enough as well. So you've got all these things to have to hand. Like next week, we're doing the virtual webinar, the virtual consultation webinar, because I want you to be consulting with people that may be having skin problems, but they may tell you things that might signpost towards something like this. So it's always thinking outside the box when we're talking to our clients, and just that out of box thinking. So like most things, we need that happy balance. So if we can have too much cortisol and it causes a problem, then we can have too little to cortisol and it's going to cause a problem as well. So when our bodies make too little, we're at risk of something called Addison's disease. And this occurs when the pituitary glands or the adrenal glands don't function properly. So they're not working as they should. And this is kind of the polar opposite. So you get weight loss as opposed to weight gain. It can affect the pigmentation in the skin. So we can see darkened skin. They may feel dizzy and fatigued as well. And that's just a rough guide. So now you know about the two. There are others, but these are the two most popular, the ones that that come up for cortisol. But there's a lot more research and reading that you can do into that, and maybe you should, just to kind of make yourself familiar with it. We do, however, need some cortisol. So I'm not saying, it's good that we have this this adrenal secretion of the things that we do, because we need them to manage day to day. We need adrenaline, we need noradrenaline, and we also need cortisol for many, many things as human beings to get us through life. But it's that balance and making sure that we are looking after ourselves and not overproducing, underproducing, or having detrimental effects on that. So cortisol, more than its role in our fight or flight mode, it's a power source. Okay, so that's why all of our cells recognize it, because they use it. That's why we do need a certain amount of it. Okay, so all our cells, or majority of our cells, have this receptor that knows what cortisol is, and it takes it and it uses it. So that's why we need to make some of it, but we just need that balance. It helps us with our memory. Okay, so it helps us maintain memory and prevent memory loss. It helps us wake up and feel alert. It helps us manage our inflammatory levels, so inflammation levels. So the right amount will help our skin keep nice and healthy. It's going to help support our metabolism. Okay, so it's going to help keep everything on the even keel. It's going to help manage our salt and water retention levels. So it helps flush out the skin, the skin and the body as well. It helps modulate our blood sugar levels, and in pregnant women is crucial for fetal development as well. So we do need an element of cortisol, but there is that whole point of too much and not quite enough as well. So it's that happy balance. So as long as we're aware of that, then I think we're ready to move on to the next part. So we're going to kind of cover stress on skin at this point. Do we have any burning questions? Let me just have a little look in the chat, make sure you're all still okay. And we're going to, yeah, someone's left up me saying CORTISOL. That's the dental in me coming out. Law, random question, not webinar related. Okay, I'll answer that at the end, Laura, if that's okay. Yeah, there are aprons that I've got from my clinic, the leopard print ones. I will answer that at the end, Laura, not a problem. Thank you for your message. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to kind of, now we've got the background knowledge of cortisol and stress and the systemic effects. I want us to think about it primarily for skin, because this is something that we are going to be seeing, and we hopefully now understand it a little bit more how and why we do see it. Okay, so stress on skin. So stress versus acne. So with acne, somebody mentioned this already in the chat, so you did the job for me. With acne clients, we tend to see high cortisol levels. Okay, I say this is not a rule of thumb, this is what we tend to see. What happens when we have high cortisol levels, it prompts the skin's sebaceous glands, I told you these guys would come up today, to produce more oil. So what we know about the oil that's produced is it's going to clog the pores of the skin up. It's going to it's a breeding ground for bacteria. So the P. acne bacteria that causes acne, amongst other things, is going to thrive in that environment. So if we are more stressed, you tend to find the oily areas of an individual becomes oilier. Okay, so we're producing more oil because of this high cortisol level. So then we've got this situation where we need to be thinking about using products that are oil soluble, and they have a bit more of an impact. We still don't want to over exfoliate. Remember the damage that we can cause by over exfoliating the skin, but we do need to try and control the amount of sebum that little bit more. So that's where your AHAs and your BHAs will come in, and in between that, you could think about your enzyme and your fruit acid peels, and or your face masks and things like that as well. So stress versus acne, we are battling against the amount of sebum that is produced. And then obviously, of course, we have the inflammatory response. So what we know with too much cortisol, I need to say it again, with too much cortisol, is that there is a risk of, the inflammation as well. So the fact that it has the effect on the inflammatory markers, what makes the inflammation potentially worse as well. So that is something to bear in mind with our acne clients, and where we may come across a bit more of a challenge. So the other thing with cortisol is that diversion that will be in place. So when we are stressed, we have more blood that is redirected to the brains and the muscles, because that's where it thinks it's needed. Okay, so it's diverted away and it's taken away from the skin and the nutrients of the skin and other parts of the body that aren't classed as primary prevention, primary sources of what it needs to survive. So it's going to assume that we need it here to survive in the brain and the muscles. Okay, and this is going to remove vital nutrients to help that natural skin healing. So this is where we can go back to the acne clients. So increased cortisol, more sebum being produced, that risk of inflammation and even poorer healing process. Throw all that into the mix with an acne client as well, then you are going to have impeded wound healing, and what we would normally do in terms of treatment may not work as well. So that's a really, really important contributing factor to think about. So stress management should be at the top of their list and the top of your list as well. So I've done a few little tips and things to think about, and we have clients with acne who are stressed. We're going to come on to the bit at the end where I want you to ask, to tell me what we can help our clients with in terms of stress management. But acne stress busting. So I would always recommend clever cleansing. So make sure they are super, super clean with their skin, but not overdoing it. We don't want to over scrub, as we know from previous webinars, until I say till I'm blue in the face. Okay. They need to be using quite a gentle cleanser, nothing that's going to strip the skin too much, but just keep things ticking over. I would consider a cleanser containing a combination of anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antioxidants, and something that's hydrating as well. You may want to look at your BHAs like salicylic. You may want to look at AHAs like glycolic, azelaic, and then we may even want to have something with that retinoid complex in, depending on what phase they are at with their acne, process and things that are coming through. We really need to avoid picking. We've already learned that healing process is going to be impaired. We've learned that the inflammatory markers are going to be, on tenterhooks, and they are super, super sensitive. We're also going to be at the risk of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So PIH, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, is going to occur where you've had areas of inflammation. So if someone is suffering with increased cortisol amounts and they are struggling to reduce the amount of inflammation because of all of the above that we've learned this evening, then that risk of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation is even more so. Okay. So we'd need to manage that accordingly as well. And we're going to do that with prevention and things like SPF, as you can see on the next one. The first thing somebody with acne wants to do is reach for the makeup. And this is where the psychodermatology comes in. They wake up in the morning, they hate what they see in the mirror. They just want to cover it up, okay? So that might be the first thing that they do. They might avoid all of that bit from above that I've just been talking about. They're not doing the cleansing. They're not using the appropriate things on their skin. And they're just plastering something on that isn't helping the skin's health. On the Shop Beautiful website, if you have a look, there is some mineral makeup on there that's pretty good coverage. So I'm told, I'm not using it myself, but I've been told it's good coverage on there, and it's mineral and anticomedogenic as well, which is important. SPF is your biggest go-to, not just when we're outside, but also when we're in the house as well. So look for something with repair properties in there, like your zinc, your vitamin E's, and your vitamin C's, as you hopefully know. And then think diet and stress reducing activities. So think about essential fatty acids. So a lot of people are far too quick to cut all fats out of their diet. We need to consider an element of essential fatty acids to keep everything ticking over properly. We've got zinc, which is really, really important. And this is another webinar I was chatting to Lucy about, again, another title we can include, skin superfoods, really. Vitamin A, as we know, topically, it has that positive effect on the skin. So if we're putting it into our diet, it's going to have a positive impact as well. I want to think about soluble fibers. Vitamin C, as we know, is there for collagen repair, and vitamin E for repair as well. Professional treatments, you know this already. Hopefully you want to be considering AHA and BHA peels, and really good skin regimens like the above as well. But you know what, the most important thing I find with acne clients and stress management is communication. So if you put them on a new regimen and you've not told them that potentially, you know what, this could get a little bit worse before it gets better, and they wake up 3 days later into the new regimen and they are, they've got some quite nasty looking, sebaceous spots that have broken out, they're going to think, they're going to stress about that. And then that's going to have that whole, you see where I'm going with this psychodermatology approach here, it will have an impact. So having that open conversation with our clients at all times is so important. It doesn't stop. We know this, it doesn't stop when we close the door or you know, sell something to somebody. It doesn't finish at that point. We must be continually keeping that communication, you know, that communication channel open with them. That's really important. And just, you know, if they're finding something they're not happy with how it feels on their skin, 9 times out of 10, you know, clients with oily and acne based skin prefer serums, but you know, and mineral products more so. But if they're not liking how that feels, then it's down to us to explore and find something that might be a little bit better suited for them. But that said, we know these things need to be given time to actually work efficiently, and we also need their compliance in play as well. So like we did on the acne workshop last week, which is available on replay on the Shop Beautiful YouTube, do go and have a look. But we were talking last week about acne management. So just basic acne management is so important with the likes of hygiene and the things that we need to be thinking about. And again, that's on the blog. So you can start to kind of piece it all together a little bit and it will make a bit more sense. So stress will reduce our skin's ability to wound heals by around about 40%. So any spots or blemishes or things that we've got going on, and this P. acne bacteria that we find in those acne sufferers can and will take longer to recover. Okay, so if we have that reduced healing, then we are going to see the fact that we've got kind of an open wound to the skin there for longer. So you've got more risk of bacteria getting in, and you've got more risk of future breakouts as well. So this all comes from that too much cortisol floating around in the body that's having that negative impact on our skin. Okay, so wound healing will be impacted by the cortisol as well. So we've got stress versus aging skin now. We've already talked about that reduction in blood flow. So it's going to take the nutrients away from non-essential body parts and take it to areas where it is potentially needed that little bit more as well. And rightly so, it thinks it's needed in the brain, you know, because it's dealing with a stressful situation. So we have less nutrients to our skin systemically. This is going to reduce the skin cell turnover, whether we like it or not. We will notice the skin will become pale, it'll become poor quality. You know, with the increased amount of cortisol, we also, the cortisol turns to sugars for energy as well. So it starts to make something into a sugar, which is then going to increase the amount of glycation and glucose within our body. Okay, so that's where we have something called glycation, which is again a webinar for another day. But glycation is basically where a sugar molecule will attach itself to a collagen fiber. So you can imagine the effect that's going to have. You're going to have a chain of proteins and a sugar attached to it. Then you get that aging skin process, and it is superseded. So it will speed up the aging process. We see DNA damage. Those small elements, which are called telomeres, these prevent the DNA from fraying. So they stop it from, you know, like when you have your tights, that ladder, and you put something on it. But what stress will do is unravel these, and it can result in permanent nerve and skin damage, you know, becoming irreversibly damaged as well. So it's so important to look after our DNA, because we don't get any more of it. Really, really important. Let me just check the questions and make sure that everybody's happy. I've just seen something pop up. Okay, so I have a question about sonic cleansers. I'll come on to that one in a moment. Well, no, let's cover it now. In terms of the sonic cleansers, I actually like the massaging cleansers. The problem you have with them is how and if they are keeping them clean. So what I offer, and in my online shop, is something that I've created from some of the stuff from Shop Beautiful and other places as well, is you have something to clean that with. So if you're telling them to use that, yes, there are links between vibration technology and collagen renewal and all of the above, and skin cell turnover and everything else. But if we're using a dirty sonic cleanser back on the skin, and we have a potential acne sufferer and or other skin conditions going on, then we're going to be in a whole host of problems. So just make sure that if we're recommending things like that, that we have something that we are recommending to clean it with, because that's really, really important as well. So thank you for that question. Hopefully that's answered it, or you're not looking at the screen thinking she's not even answered the question. Tell me if I haven't. So yes, DNA damage. This is going to too much cortisol will damage our DNA over time as well. So it's so important. And this is where that early aging, aging will become earlier, and you will see you can see somebody that's had a very stressful life ordinarily. I see clients that come in from 2, 3, 4 different walks of life, and you can kind of see and understand, how the damage that's been done to their skin and what we can see and how and why that's in play. It all starts to make that little bit of sense for us. So stress busting for aging skin. We want to think about good home regimens, again, implemented from an early age. So there's nothing that beats prevention. There's nothing that beats sun protection and antioxidants. If I worry a little bit, if I tell too many people to wear daily SPF and antioxidants every day from the age of 17, 18, in fact, my little girl is even on it and she's 11, can you imagine the range of clients we're going to see in like 20 years time if they've always done that and they've always practiced that? The skin is going to be amazing. So prevention is key. Daily sun protection, SPF, broad spectrum, and antioxidants. So antioxidants, those of you that don't know, an antioxidant is something that's going to take away something called a free radical scavenger. A free radical scavenger is going around underneath our skin causing us no end of problems. Okay, so it's going to go in there and it's going to basically pinch things off other cells and cause a riot underneath the skin or any part of the body, in fact. So what our antioxidants do is they go in and they snap them up like Pac-Man, take them away so that our skin and now, or whichever body part that we're talking about, can actually function as it needs to do. So antioxidants are so important, both intrinsically to eat and drink, but also to apply on our skin in relation to skin health as well. So regular professional interventions and integrated skincare approaches is so important. So like my lady that I talked about with the polycystic ovaries, and like my lady that's going through, she's got that increased cortisol production at the minute, and we are fighting our way through a bit of an acne trial with treatments for her, then that's where we need to think about this. You may see clients who you've got suspicions about there's something more going on. Have that conversation with them. We're not diagnosing, you've done some background reading in it and you recognize there might be something there. So it's worth having that conversation with them. For stress busting for aging skin, we definitely want to think about retinols and increasing that skin cell turnover. But retinol is something that I see for my anti-aging clients as a bit of a reward. So they need to work their way up to that. That's my opinion. Some brands may differ, but this is how I have always done things. So they don't just start on a retinol straight away. They'll work their way up to it and see if we even need it, because sometimes it's not always needed. The biggest one here, and this is not just for aging skin, this is going to be in relation to acne. This is going to be in relation to actual regulation of cortisol anyway. So if when we're asleep, we're not really that stressed, are we? Most of us aren't, and if we are, then we definitely need some help with that. We need to help our clients with that. Okay, so beauty sleep. So sleep has a massive impact on skin and systemic health. Sleep helps. When we are asleep, something called purification happens. So when we sleep, we perspire. So I talked about this already. It's that perspiration that increases that detoxification process. So it's taking away all rubbish that we don't want underneath our skin. That happens when we sleep. So before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning, it's a really good idea to have a pint of water. Yes, you are up at 2 and 4 in the morning. I am, but every night I have a pint of water before I go to sleep, and it helps us increase that detoxification process. Regeneration. Skin cell renewal is increased at night. It peaks between 1 and 2 a.m. So all those back-to-back episodes on Netflix, which we might be guilty of and our clients might be guilty of, that are increasing the cortisol and the stress levels and everything else that's going on, needs to stop. Okay, so you need to have a handle on it. And between 1 and 2 a.m., that is when our skin cell regeneration process is at its optimum. So sleep is an amazing tool for all of these things to happen. When we're asleep, we see an increase in growth hormone, which means more collagen and elastin are being produced as well. Not just between 1 and 2 a.m. This is the whole time that we're asleep. All our vital organs they're just nice and relaxed and calm. So that means that all our non-vital organs get the attention that they need when everything else is not doing what it needs to be doing. It's doing it, but on a lesser level. Okay. Without enough sleep, there is no time to build these foundations. So this is your ultimate stress reliever. It's your ultimate body repair system. Sleep is where it is at. Okay. Microcirculation. Between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m., our microcirculatory system works harder to deliver more oxygen to the skin. So all those little blood vessels that we learned about in slide 1, I can't remember how many, who can, anybody, you know, in that one square patch, I think it was 100 centimeters square of tiny little micro blood vessels, they all need oxygen. So that's going to happen when our vital organs don't need it because we're asleep, or they need it, but they don't need it in excess. So it's just ticking over nicely. So that's when that microcirculation kicks in. So it provides all that nutrients to our skin and the rest of our body as well. Melatonin is produced. This is a hormone, and it's an antioxidant with anti-inflammatory properties. It's going to help regulate our sleep and wake cycle. So it might be hard if you're out of routine. I know when the first lockdown, I was an absolute nightmare. I was staying up to like 2-3 in the morning, and then getting up at like 7 and then having a little bit of a nap in the afternoon. My body did not know where it was at, and my melatonin was completely way out. And I saw an impact on I started with eye bags. I've never had eye bags. And again, you know, the response I could see straight away within my skin. So this actually peaks. So melatonin is responsible and peaks at 2 a.m. and it's there to protect ourselves from free radical damage. And without it, that tissue repair, so that wound healing that we've talked about, is compromised. So we need our melatonin as well. Another one to cover in terms of a skin condition would be rosacea. So this is a medically diagnosed condition, but we know all too well what it looks like and how we can potentially help our clients ahead of a dermatologist. And that is people who have rosacea. Stress can also be a trigger for their skin condition. In a survey of rosacea patients by the National Rosacea Society, it found that emotional stress was one of the most commonly cited triggers for flare-ups, around about 79% of all respondents. Okay. So those with increased cortisol levels and they are more stressed out, they may potentially see that their rosacea gets worse. So we see it often with environmental stresses, and in winter, you know, rosacea can be a year-round problem, but we may find it is linked to mood and that psychodermatology. So they are stressing out because they have the red hue to their cheeks and they don't like it, and then it just has that knock-on effect as well. They stress out about it, and you know, we get that vicious circle that we've chatted about already. So just some tips for our rosacea sufferers there. We can try herbal teas such as sage, rosemary, thyme, chamomile, lemon balm, milk thistle, and fennel. These all have, you know, there's mixed reviews on these sort of things being effective, and some of you that may be skeptics may not think this, but just have a little look into some of the papers that I've linked at the bottom of the blog for tomorrow. Exercise, gentle, low impact, avoid over flushing, and no chlorine swimming and hot tubs. So this is where your chemicals, I'm just going to have a drink of water, will impact the skin as well, as we know. And those of us with rosacea will have that breech lipid barrier already. So obviously, if we're then getting in hot tubs, swimming pools, and that chemical straight onto you know, non-protected skin, then that's going to have a negative impact as well. We could think about supplements such as probiotics and things to help beat gut bacteria as well. Again, we're going to think about being makeup free or consider mineral makeup, but definitely a daily SPF. They may want to try something, and this goes for anybody, this lymphatic drainage massage. You know, there's plenty of tutorials that you can get on the net. The jade rollers, have you seen those? They're really, really good to help the skin generally with that microcirculation as well. So this is even something that we can be helping our clients with while we're not open and we can't do our facial treatments as well. Diet restrictions to include histamine releasing products. Believe it or not, bananas is one. We've got cheese, tomatoes, chocolate. We've got canned tuna, avocado, jam, yogurt, strawberries, alcohol, as we know. Caffeine, that's going to have a negative impact, as is spicy foods and vinegars. And with our rosacea sufferers, so they feel like they've got a bit of a handle on it because they might be stressing out about it. get them to do a food diary so they're in control of that and they can see what is having that trigger to it. So a lot of the time it's actually managing their psychology and helping them acknowledge the fact that yes, this is a condition that we have, this, you know, we're doing these treatments that are going to help, but what isn't helping is the stress factor, and the fact that you're stressing out about having it is going to have that negative impact as well. So we're helping our clients gain control and implementing something like a food diary. Again, all these little resources is something that I'm chatting with the guys at Shop Beautiful about, that we need to have for you guys. There, download, pass it on to your client, and get them to fill it out to help you find that bigger picture with what it is that you're trying to achieve for them. So we're coming to a close. You'll be glad to know we're nearly there. It always goes so fast, and I've just seen my phone's quite a few notifications. So I hope you've all been taking pictures and tagging me in this evening. I just want to close, really. I've got a few of the slides just to share with what's coming up next week and some exciting titles. And you know, how do you think you can help your clients deal with stress right now? So just share with the other people that are on this webinar how you think you could potentially help them. I could sit here and give you a few ideas, but I'd just like you to interact a little bit from what you've learned already. How can we help them? Let's see. Anybody got any answers? Throw them at me. If not, I'm going to move on to the next slide. Yeah, meditation is a good one. I like that. Meditation is good. So getting them, you know, it's behavior change, isn't it? Somebody said lavender, absolutely. Sleep, amazing, Joanna. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's little things like, you know, we're all struggling at the minute. Like we've got our businesses and we may have social media. We don't know what to put on it. We can't put our before and after pictures on it. We can't do what we'd normally be doing. So we can educate our clients. And this is where the next slides will come in, because what can you be doing now to correct it? How can you help our clients deal with this stress? So it's little things like pint of water before bed, pint of water when you wake up, you know, turning your phone off, turning all electrics off an hour before bed. So you're not looking at that blue screen and it's not having an impact on your skin and systemic health as well. Yoga, I've never tried it, Kate. I literally need to try yoga. I keep having a few people on at me to try yoga, but I'm the sort of person that likes to I like spin, like hardcore spin, like a puddle on the floor where I've done it. And again, you know, I've never tried it. I am going to try it. But for me, it's about just winding myself down at night time. I've now like started putting the phone down and away and just not thinking about it. So, you know, work out what works for you and then help your clients with that as well. You know, how you can help them because they're stressing out. They may have skin worries and they think they've got to wait until goodness knows what date when we can see them again. Offer these skin consultations, these free virtual skin consultations. I'm helping you guys with that next week with a webinar that I've got planned. Home care, so important. This image, home care, okay? Nothing else. This was home care. Help our clients consider stress management as part of their skin regime. So they don't want to be rushing through it with the husband banging on the bathroom door to get in, or their wife banging on the bathroom door to get in while they're in the middle of their regime. They need to find time to do it. So we must consider that when we've listened to them and we've talked to them about their concerns and their lifestyle. We don't want to give them a 10 product regime that we know is not going to be stuck to. We need to give them something that they can just wean themselves into gently. It might be something that her and the husband could use, or him and the wife could use, depending on who's come to you. You know, that is really, really important, that you're offering them something that they can gain compliance with and they will continue to use and do in that way. We can offer tutorials, we can offer educational posts, we can offer content to help with stress management. We can start to follow and like other stress management ways of on Instagram and Facebook, and we can share their content, and that is where this whole integrated holistic healthcare approach comes in. But more often than not, getting them on some, good quality, grounded products, will start to see them getting results. And that is so important, to gain their confidence with that. So utilize educational posts about what you've learned this evening. So what have you learned about this evening? We've hopefully learned quite a lot around stress and the endocrine system and the effect that will have on our skin, not just our skin, but our bodies. We don't want to scare them to death with it, but we want to make sure that they understand that there's only so much you can do with the products that you're going to recommend. But then a lot of it is down to their compliance and their health as well. So the blog is actually ready ahead of time this time. Normally I'd give it like a day or so later when I've managed to tweak it a little bit, but I've done it this afternoon, and I was preparing it a little bit last week as well. So that's pretty much ready to go and should be on there to follow this. This is going to be on a replay available as well. So if you want to watch it again or just listen to me again while you're walking the dog or doing whatever, just to kind of take it in that little bit more and think about these things that little bit more. Sometimes, you know, it's the second and third time that we're listening to something that we take it in. If you haven't already, I am an ambassador for Skin. Give them a follow as well. So Skin is a skin cancer and melanoma charity, and they have an amazing accreditation that every single one in the health, hair and beauty industry should do. We are working with individuals with skin, and they may come to us with something like this. So we may be the first person that they see. So it's about recognizing the early detection of skin cancer and melanoma. So this is an absolute godsend of a tool. And as an ambassador for them, I always, you know, never shy away talking about it. If you want to know more, message me or just visit the guys over at Skin. Always like to throw that one in. So I'll close by asking if anybody has any questions, and please do fire them my way. I saw the one about the aprons. I'll get to that in a minute, Laura. Thank you for that question. These are our next webinars. So next week we've got skills and they're multiplying. You see what I did there? Out of Greece. Yes, you did. Please say you did. We've got a virtual consultation know-how. So it's going to be a bit like tonight, but a little bit less sciencey. We're actually going to be learning how to implement an integrated calendar. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? We're going to learn about how to make appointments via Zoom. We're going to learn about the considerations to make and these forms and these sort of things that we need to have in place. So we've got that good background knowledge behind our clients, and we can help them accordingly with part of the Shop Beautiful range as well. So when these clients are coming to us, how can we recommend these products and what's the best thing for us to do to get them on a good regimen? Then we've got a full webinar on rosacea, which is definitely needed. And we've got a full webinar on the menopause and your skin as well. Lots and lots of future topics coming up. But if there is anything you think of that you really want, then please do let me know, because I will put it to the guys over at Shop Beautiful. We want to be trying to do 1 or 2 a week as it stands at the minute. Okay, so let's have a look at the questions. So Linda, you've asked if it's been recorded. Indeed it has, Linda. It will be available on the Shop Beautiful YouTube within a day or so, so you can obviously have another little look over it at that point. Laura, thank you. You're very excited for all the webinars. You're a skin geek like me as well. I'm glad you've liked the content so far. Laura, you asked about the aprons. If you want to drop, I think I saw your message this afternoon actually, but just drop me an email. You can see my email address on there, and I'll send you a message about the tailored bespoke aprons there. So thank you for that. I think they are all the questions answered. I'm just double checking. Yeah, that was just a thank you. So I am going to close by saying thank you for joining me this evening, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. Any questions that you do have about what we've chatted about this evening, anything you agree with or disagree with, please do tell me. I want to know. I'm approachable, so please do come and chat to me. Enjoy the Shop Beautiful YouTube as well. Go and have a look at that, because there's all our past webinars that are on there. Loads and loads of little bits of nuggets. There's branded training on there as well. So there's loads and loads of things that you can keep yourself busy with while you're out and about. Either listen as audio, or you can obviously watch it as you're wandering around walking the dogs or whatever it is you're doing to keep sane. But this is going to be so I've got next Wednesday at 7:30, same time next week. We're going to be touching on virtual consultation know-how. You do need to pre-register for it. If you visit the Shop Beautiful website, you'll see where. Just tap on webinars. Any additional content that you want, just let us know, because we'd love to create that for you. But do go and check out the blog. And check out the products that I've kind of specified across from the blog, so you can see where it is that I'm talking about, what it is that I'm talking about in that sense. It'll make a bit more sense. But hopefully you've enjoyed it this evening. Thank you ever so much for joining me, and do take care. Have a good rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing all of you next week and more. So tell others and get sharing about this. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye bye.